as far as tying it in with entrepreneurs, you can be like a mercenary, like, I'm going to go make money. My goal is to make money. Or you can have more of a ministerial or missionary approach of, I feel so compelled to do something that I'm going to do this and I'm going to become great at it. And when you do it the earlier way, the mercenary way, you're just out to make a buck, you're not going to be as good and you're not going to have that satisfaction we talked about earlier in the call. But if you do it in a mission oriented, then you're more obsessed about getting it right than getting the money. The money will come. You need to know that that's true. That is true. You do it to be excellent, not to make money.
What if your next client came from one strategic shift? You are listening to IconiQ Entrepreneurs, the podcast for founders and brand builders who want to scale with clarity, not chaos. I'm Erica Bailey, CEO of IconiQ and your host, and every week we sit down with bold minds who know how to grow. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've missed our recent heavy hitters, go back and catch branding legend Brandon Coleman Jr. on truth and alignment, or maybe sales strategist Ron Koningsberg in our 3-part series, Sales, What They Don't Teach You in School, and growth expert Courtney Durand on scaling to 12 million with clarity over burnout. Every episode is a masterclass, and today is no different. Hello, and welcome back to IconiQ Entrepreneurs. I am your host, Erica Bailey, and as always, I like to start off with gratitude. I am thankful that you are here, Chance, to meet with me. I'm also thank you for all of my listeners. I appreciate your loyalty, and I do hope that we bring value every single time. Today, I have a guest who is someone whose creativity knows no bounds. He is a filmmaker. He is a veteran, a storyteller, a radio personality, a musical theater producer, and somehow this guy makes it all look effortless. Joining me today is Chance McClain. He is the founder of Heritage Films, where he's directed and produced, are you guys ready for this? More than 800 feature-length documentaries celebrating family legacies and life stories. His work beautifully connects generations, capturing the essence of people's lives in films that are visually stunning, deeply personal, and unforgettable. From sports radio to Broadway stages and even a Streamy-nominated film along the way. Hold on, let me try that again. Streamy-nominated, is that right?
Yeah, the Streamies. Yes, ma'am.
From sports radio to Broadway stages and even a Streamy-nominated film along the way, Chance has never been one to stick to just one path. He blends technical mastery with artistic heart, reminding us all how powerful storytelling can be, especially when it's your own story being told. Chance, I'm thrilled. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the show.
You are hired. Gosh. Yeah, I'm going to correct you. Make it seem effortless. It's like I'm the overnight success that took 40 years. I'm every entrepreneur. I'm every founder. But yeah, there's a lot in there. And thank you for that glowing
Well, it is my honor.
retelling.
I'm very excited. I have so we do some cinematography with a partner and we are working on a documentary and I'm seeing kind of the whole background of things and I sent him your bio. I'm like, who I'm talking to? He's like, wow, that's a resume. So I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's talk story. Let's kick off with
Yeah.
this origin story. Like, how did this journey start for you?
Wow. I reference often that Steve Jobs 2005 Stanford commencement speech where he talks about connect the dots and nothing really makes sense till you look back. And nothing made sense on the journey until I got to the position where now I'm talking to and interviewing people of all ages, of all backgrounds, everything you can fathom. And then if you go to Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, where he says, find something in common, Well, by the grace of God, I got a little something in common with most folks, so breaking the ice has been easy, but it all makes sense now. But along that trail, God, I didn't know where the hell I was. I was roaming around in the dark with blinders on and hoping and praying and stumbling and fumbling, but always learning and trying to do a little bit better at each step. And found myself filming my buddy's dad, and then that turned into filming somebody else, and then filming somebody else, and then we started marketing, and then hi, now I'm talking to Erica.
Wow. Did you always want to do film or were you just like
Uh,
figuring it out along the way? Like, do you remember being like in love with film when you were a kid or like where did this passion start from?
Absolutely, absolutely. When I look at these greatest films of per decade or per half decade, I'm like, seen it more than 10 times, my whole life was watching movies and go to take back many, many decades when I was in high school, I kinda did everything. I was a class president, I was a nerd, I did good in my grades, I was a letterman in multiple athletes and the lead in every play in a big school. And I went off to college majoring in radio, television, and film at the University of Texas in Austin, which is a good school. And I got some really crap advice saying, hey, there's no business in radio, television, or film. You're a smart dude. You should major in business. So I switched my major to business and then I immediately failed out and then went to another college, failed out again. But I met a girl at that one and
Ooh.
ended up falling in love over the course of a couple months, asked her to marry me, and she kind of laughed at me, saying, "You are an irresponsible bleep up. What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, I'll join the army because the army will teach me to be responsible, right?" So she's like,
Mhm.
"Okay, you join the army and I'll say I do." So we eloped, and 11 days later, I went to basic training and spent 4 years as a light infantry medic in the army. Loved it, loved my service. I was in during peacetime. I like to tell everybody I was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington, up near Seattle during grunge. So I had a blast. I loved the music scene. I loved all that.
Wow.
Yeah. And anyway, you carry the story forward to playing around with music and writing some songs and getting some attention and getting into radio and sports radio. All along the way, my life started going back to 18-year-old Chance. Radio, yeah, I was a program director at CBS Sports Radio 610 in Houston. And then we started our own station and I was program director there. So I had this little period of my life where I was in radio. Television, I've done tons of television hits for lots of different reasons. Film, I shot the musical movie that we released online, and it ended up getting nominated for a Streamy Award, which is like a corny back in the day. I think they're still going on, but it's like the Oscars for internet content way back in the
Yes.
day.
Yes.
And and so all those things that I knew at 18, they were buried in me, but it took a lot of sales jobs that some of them I was good at, some of them I sucked at. It took soldiering, which I was good at and loved. It took all these different turns for me to resettle into a career that involved all the stuff that was buried in me for sure as a little kid. That's the longest answer to a question ever.
Oh, absolutely not. Trust me. Well, you get it. You get it. That's quite beautiful. So it sounds like you really kind of had this foundation in you as a child, but you learned how to hone it and find it through your journey as through the sales jobs and through the
Mhm.
adulting and the military. By the way, thank you for your service, thank you for protecting me and my family. So what an adventure. It's a lot of people don't find their passion like that.
Yeah.
I think we have something inside of us when we're young, but I think the world gives us bad advice a lot of the
The
time.
world has lied, including people in your space and all the books we read all the books where they say follow your passion. I don't think that's good advice. I mean, maybe it's good advice for your free time, but for your vocation, particularly once you start a family, you have a higher calling to take care of these other people. Follow what you're naturally gifted at would be the little turn on that because it may drive you crazy, but you're damn good at it. You are going to find this satisfaction that's beyond simple pleasure satisfaction. I really like playing video games. I'm going to be you
Mhm.
like doing that. That's a pleasure position, but perhaps you being good at a certain type of video game means you're really good at intricate problem solving. Well, that is going to correlate into some type of vocation, right? And so, and this, by the way, everything I say, Chance McClain knows jack crap.
Jack shit.
Jack shit. It's from the about I mean, I've done 800 films, a lot more than 800 films, and a lot of them are couples. I've talked to over 1,000 people who figured their shit out. One way or another, their family said, Papa, I love you. I want to make a movie of you. I know a guy. So that dude that raised the family that loves him, he got it right. Whatever the finances are, he got it right. He lived a life the right way. So that's where my advice comes from. It comes from all these people that I've talked to. So that's not my advice. That's some old man in Beaumont, Texas, or some lady in San Francisco.
But you learned it and now you're sharing it. So technically, I mean, you're sharing the advice that you got that has helped you grow. And that's what we're here for, right? Is
I mean,
to share
okay,
that advice. So you do know jack shit. I mean, you
that's
grabbed it
fair.
and you've taken it and you've sucked it all in and now
Yeah,
you're giving it back to other people. I mean, that's like what we're supposed to be doing is
I
bringing
think you're
value
right.
or bringing value to humanity and we learn from others. So I'm
Yeah,
going to contradict you on that, but I like what you say. Follow what you're naturally good at
yeah,
because it does break it down. Like my kids, they're gamers. I mean, they're football players and all that jazz,
all
but
that. Yeah,
they love gamers. They want to be, you know. So it's like, okay, you're naturally good at understanding these games, how to play these games, how the story goes. So maybe you're not a gamer for vocation, but maybe you're a game developer.
well, perhaps it's that, but most of the game development, I don't know why we're off on this tangent, but I love it. Most of the game development is the super nerdy people. Like
Yeah.
when you see all the credits running after you beat the big boss at the end,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
there's a million names that are all over the place. You can't pronounce any of them. Those guys are super gifted at that intricate like back end stuff.
Uh-huh.
I find that the game players end up, and I got two myself, they're like I think about my daughter. She can hyper focus. She's 24. She works right there. That's her desk, but she's working from home today. I wish she was here. Um, she can hyper focus and spaz out on some one tiny aspect of of a heritage film production. Like I can't. Like I'm into it for a few minutes and then I'm like squirrel. You know, I'm chasing something else. Whereas she can be like, there's a squirrel on her shoulder, and she's like, nope, I'm getting this exactly right. And that
I
comes from her gaming, like those little things they have to do. Anyway, there you go.
I guess, yeah, it would come from their gaming because they're literally there focusing
Oh,
on this one task until they complete that task. The whole goal is that you have to get to the end of the journey. So you have
yes.
to complete that
And
task. Ooh.
here's another little bit of advice for you. We on some of our films we do lots of drone work, and you don't want me flying the drone. I'll crash it. I've crashed several. But my drone guy, I didn't go to USC to get a good drone guy. He's a gamer. This
Yep.
dude is the best drone pilot, making
I love that.
cinematic, beautiful drone work because of all the years playing FIFA.
Hmm. It's
So
that
that,
hand-eye coordination, and I being able to see the visuality of
mhm.
different games and the different, not aspects, but you know what I mean, like different
Yeah.
levels, having that,
And
like, already in your
think
mind
about
for
when I don't know how old you are. When I was a
I'm
kid and I had
46.
46. Okay, you're a child. I'm 52. But when we were kids, well, you break it because you were Nintendo, I was Atari. So
Okay.
there wasn't a lot going on. Well, the crap that these kids are doing now, dude, you go try to play a game. Their hands are doing 75 things. There's 22 things on the screen, and these little geniuses can figure it all out.
Huh?
That's
While they're
and they,
watching football from their phone.
wow, totally, and keeping up with some shit in their head, all that at once. They make good drone pilots, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I bet those are the ones that are flying drones in the military, huh?
I hope so.
Wow. Oh, I loved that tangent. That was fun. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, so let's talk about 800
Mm.
cinematic documentaries.
Yep.
So, like, talk to me about the different types of documentaries that you do. Share us,
Sure.
share you.
Gosh.
Who are
Well,
you? What
yeah. Who am I? Oh my gosh.
is that the
I don't know.
universal question?
Yeah, it totally is. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Hopefully the next 50 years I'll get it. I I get invited into people's homes to visit with either them or their parents or whoever it is, whatever relation, and I'm the guy that makes them forget that there are cameras there, and we visit about as far back as they know, their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, freaking the Norman invasion of 1066. Literally did a film that a guy had a paternal lineage to 1066. That's a thing that happened. And we talk. Yeah, for real. Name by name by name. Dads, 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 all the way to him living on a farm starting at the Norman invasion. Um, but yeah, make them forget the cameras are there, and then we visit. Prior to ever showing up, I'm gonna know a little bit about them. They're gonna have filled some forms out. We're gonna chit chat. One of the overlooked, more important forms is the people that love them fill out forms that are like, "Yeah, this is my uncle," or "Yeah, he's my dad," or "He's my college roommate." Ask him about the Showbiz Drive-In and Nancy. And I've got this little nugget once we start talking about high school. So Showbiz Drive-In, Nancy, what went on there? And he blushes and he's like, oh boy, mom's gonna hate this one. So we forget there are cameras, we talk and talk and talk, and other crew members are scanning in pictures and finding the other things to help tell the story. And then we bring it back to our studio here in North Houston and get to work. You wouldn't be able to operate at the volume that we do without leaning into that Army background I have, which is processes and standards and things like that that are kind of often often removed from the artsy fartsy side of my existence. And again, going back to Steve Jobs and connecting the dots, dude, I've had decades of my life where I'm like, what the was I doing in the Army? Like, that is so weird that I was in the Army. And then now it all makes sense. I wouldn't have been able to, not I, me and my guys, we would not have been able to build a system that can produce this volume of high quality, very, very personal stuff without the Army background, without the, no, it's due now. So looks like you're working this weekend structure. Absolutely.
Structure, dedication, loyalty, hard work, like all of those are transferable skills
Yep.
that help us develop into like the people that we become. So for me, I actually have a bachelor's in justice studies. I actually wanted to be a FBI profiler. Like
Oh,
that
wow.
was my crime scene investigation, crime scene technology. Like I have a certificate and all that. I ended up becoming a legal assistant and an estate
Mm.
planning for like 6 years.
Oh, wow. Well, that's one of the places where that's where some of my work
Yes.
comes from.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, because 'cause they're looking at end of life type, yep, and after 5 years, I wanted to move up in the
Mhm.
business, and they told me that I was a young mother, so I had 2 kids and just had a baby. I was a
How
young
old were
mother.
you?
I was, let's see, like mid-20s, early 30s. No,
Okay.
gosh, I can't even do the math, but
You
anyway,
can't do math.
around between 25 and 30. And I was told that I needed to be home with my kids, right? And there's a whole purpose behind this story. So give me 1 second, I'll get
No,
there.
I'm in. You got me hooked.
And so I looked at him and I'm like, okay. And I went to my desk and I packed my shit and I walked out. And I went
Wow.
home and I applied for my master's degree in business. And my husband comes home and I'm like, okay, I decided I quit my job and I'm going to back to school. And like I said, we have 3 young kids, we're trying to survive. It's awful. It's horrible.
Totally.
And he's like, that's just a wasted piece of paper.
Mm.
Well, not about 14 months later, I graduated top of my class,
Yep.
summa cum laude. I have a paper on organizational. So it's organizational behavior, basically
Yeah.
human behavior. Excuse me, is what my studies were. And so I got my master's degree and we couldn't find work. And he has his bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree. It's 2008.
Oh, perfect timing. Perfect timing.
I quit my job
Yeah.
and we're like, all right, you know what? We have some knowledge and experience, so we're going to start a marketing firm. And in that moment, I realized my why. And
Mm.
my why was I wanted to be home with my kids. I
Of course.
wanted to be here whenever I needed to be. I wanted to have the flexibility and the capability to grow and develop and be there when the doctor's appointments and the football and
Mm.
everything. And for 17 years, I have been there for
Good.
everything. Going back, what was I told? I was a young mom who needed to be
Go
home with her
home
kids.
with your kids. Yeah.
So I took that advice at first as a negative, right? As a, I don't think I can handle it. I'm a woman. I can do
Mhm.
anything. And I turned that advice actually into my why. So I don't know where I got off on that, but
Oh, I
it,
love
I,
it.
just,
Did
I
it
feel like the
so you're
lessons we learn, sometimes we
Mhm.
don't know what they mean until decades later.
Oh, that I think that's what Jobs was trying to say. So in a
Huh?
roundabout way, you just verified what he said. So 17 years ago, you made a decision and now you have been a present parent in your kids' lives while making something, while being vocationally comfortable as well.
And
Like,
following what I'm good at. My
yeah.
skill sets, which are is human behavior.
Mm,
It's strategy. It's understanding why a person goes from point A to point Z. Right?
mm, mhm.
So that's I started doing something I was good at, not something I was passionate about. I wanted to be a crime scene investigator,
Yeah.
but I was good at understanding human behavior.
Then then back to my point from all these people I've talked to, I think you are probably a testament of that. You have a different type of fulfillment, and it's better because if you were a crime scene investigator and you were out there amidst the gristle and brain matter on the wall and taking pictures and looking at angles, and you would have had joy. You're like, this is badass. This is what I do. It would have been pleasurable. But what you're naturally good at, it's a different type of fulfillment that I'm telling you is at a plane above pleasure.
Meaningful.
Totally meaningful. Yeah.
Meaningful. Oh, I could talk to you forever. Okay, so how did you find so you said your first customer was your friend's dad?
Yeah, I wasn't even a customer. So again, my radio background, I was in sports radio and I had a buddy, a very good friend of mine who was in talk radio. And he asked me, and I was doing some stuff with the show and, I still songs and all this crazy crap. But he calls me on a Thursday and he's like, "Hey, I need you to film my dad." And I'm like, what's wrong with Norman? He's like, "Nothing. He's turning 75, but I want my kids to know their papa. He's 75. By the time they're old enough to give a shit, he gonna be gone." So I said, "Okay, sure." He's like, "All right, cool. He'll be at my house tomorrow at noon. He doesn't want to do this. He's the shyest person on earth. He's lived a pretty drab, a single job for all of his career. Good luck." I'm like, "Oh, great." Well, I went over and I filmed his dad and we talked and talked and talked and it ended up going well. Then over the course of the next year, he talked about it on air. So a few people would track me down. I was still doing TV commercials and internet videos and all that stuff. And a few people tracked me down. So I'd done a handful of these. And at Thanksgiving the following year, my stepdad, who is my dad, he told us that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer and that he had 12 to 18 months to live. And I'm like, "That's the worst news ever. Can we film your story?" Because he and my mom had been married for 15 years. So he's very, very close, very awesome guy. And he said, "Well, sure." He was a listener of my buddy's show. So he's like, "Yeah, well, my buddy's going to do the interview." Long story short, we get them coordinated about 2 months later, and they did the interview on a Tuesday, and he passed away Sunday. So it was like the last thing that he did. It wasn't a year, it was very, 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 very fast. Fuck cancer. There you go.
My
Um,
dad died last January, a year ago
so
January from
sorry.
lung cancer. So yeah, it's
You feel it.
anyway.
It's the worst. Yeah, fuck cancer. So he
What a
passed away
loss.
on Sunday. Yeah, and I still wasn't even thinking here I was a client of a company where I had done 4 or 5 of these videos, and then my buddy interviewed my dad, and it was sitting in the car at the viewing. We were literally drinking bourbon in his truck, and he said, because now he was me. He was the dude interviewing, and it's powerful. Like, when somebody opens up and trusts you, it is like some wild transfer happens. And he goes, "That's probably a business chance." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I had been thinking about it, but I probably needed somebody to say that."
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I went,
That
talked to my
like
wife, and we said, "Let's do it." So we started the company, and now yeah, this is what we do.
800 films later, like,
All these
taking that
families.
leap. But,
Mm.
like, did you have that, like, gut, like, "What am I doing?" Or,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I struggle with imposter syndrome a lot, and
Oh
so,
God, me too.
like, over the 17 years, it's like, "What am I doing? Should I just get a job?" Is
Yep.
the question. But what I love about what you said, sitting down and being able to get somebody comfortable enough to tell you a story, tell you their private information,
Mhm.
being willing to just open up that vulnerability, that moment, that connection is so powerful. That's kind of where I fit in. I'm actually a sports photographer for
Oh,
like,
nice.
yeah. It's just fun. I don't do it like for sales or anything. I just do it for the high school boys. But so I am typically not the one behind the video camera.
Yep.
So I like to sit there and talk with the people, and just having that moment where they look at you and like in their eyes, they're saying, "Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for helping me through that." That develops a bond that is insane. It really can. Do you find yourself ever getting too attached?
Girl, you
Yeah.
have no idea. I can give you it's the type of thing where I have so many examples in my head, I'm frozen right now. 5 to 10% of our films are people that are under hospice care.
Mm.
So they've been given that ultimate bad news. And when I got my first one, I was like, all right, we'll get through this. And we're talking and we get to the point. I did everything traditional, talked about grandparents, parents, childhood, school years, meeting his girlfriend, having his son's name was Chance, by the way,
Oh,
11-year-old son. And then we get to the point where, he's working at his firm, architect, kicking ass, life is good, 45, something like that, right around my age, a little younger than me. And I'm like, so you had these headaches and I'm like, me, I can talk to you. And I'm like, you guys, you go to the doctor, you're there and they're talking, the doc. He's like, yeah, they told me that I'm dying and it's just frozen. And I'm sitting there and the tears just start coming out of my eyes. And understand this, Mr. Gilfillan was in a home hospital bed with open wound wrapped cranium. He is out of time. We are doing this at the 11th hour. And I'm snot bubble crying because this guy was the coolest. He was so cool. He was so cool and so awesome and such a good dad and good husband and so much that I wasn't. And I can't even muster up a question. I'm just bawling. And now he starts going, hey, it's okay, man. He's consoling me. And I'm just like, God, we are on the wrong sides of this camera because I clearly have some shit I need to process. You're close to the end and he's like, and anyway, that was the first one of those. And now I've done, I don't know, 100 somewhere along the line. It's still ho- horrible and scary and prayers and tears, but it's a privilege. I'm honored. There are people out there that volunteer for hospice work. These crazy sons of bitches want to do that. I certainly didn't volunteer for it, but I do know that when people ask me to come, that it's a fucking honor. And I love it. It's weird.
wow.
Yeah,
No, I think, you talk about it's the fear, right? Like at the end, and I can see it. I can actually see it in your eyes, like
that's
just
true.
thinking about that moment, like I can see it in your eyes. I think in that moment, what's beautiful about what you do is you're literally capturing fear and anxiety, but also peace and love. Like
Yeah.
the whole gambit, like the whole human emotional. Blah.
And so here, like, if you've got a loved one that's in that situation, you spend your time with them and maybe you address it, maybe you talk about it. You have those moments where you definitely talk about it. You have to. End of life there's a lot going on. And then you go about your life, you go to your job, and it's looming in the back of your head. Well, the person that's going through it, it's almost all that's there. It's constantly. And they get through a period where they've thought about it so much, particularly if they have a faith structure underneath it. They get to a place of peace to some extent. They are more comfortable in the moment than you are, the person talking to them. And my path now, what I do is it's a rip the Band-Aid off thing. Whenever we talk about it, I'm like, well, you got some dog shit news. And they're like, yeah, I did. Yeah, this is tough. I said, I haven't talked to you for half a day. I don't know if you're at peace with it or are you open to talk? And then when they say yes, there's still tears, but I'm able to ask the questions now. and I'm able to know what the family wants and how to help them share their story. Even we're all going to be in that place unless we get hit by a bus. We're all going to be there, and
Yeah.
hopefully all the audience of that person's family, whatever little bit of advice that man or woman has to share, hopefully it gives them some peace that goes along with their faith.
Wow. This is absolutely beautiful. So you wore many hats, like
Uh,
Army, radio host.
le-
Now, sports radio, just so you know, is like that was one of my favorite childhood memories with my dad.
oh, wow.
Listening to sports radio, because that's what he would do, right? He would listen to
Yeah.
sports radio. We lived in Colorado and there was nothing to do. And there, like Nintendo, it was Duck Hunt, Mario, and sports radio and watching sports. So I grew up loving sports and loving sports radio. And anytime I hear a sportscaster, I feel my dad.
Yeah.
I can feel him. I can almost like sense him. He's sitting right there. So I don't sports for some reason, like a lot of people are like sports radio, but like to me, it's a childhood memory I will hold on to forever. So anyway,
That's good.
Broadway,
I love to hear
musical,
that. Yeah, shit, that happened. Yeah.
filmmaker, like what do you think these different worlds have actually taught you about being an entrepreneur? Like wearing all these different hats, like
Yeah.
what do you think they've taught you? Or is there how do I break this question down a little bit better?
No, I think you did okay. What did I take away from well, I could jump the 2 things together. The
Perfect.
I did the musical movie, released as a streaming, thought I was gonna be a big filmmaker. I mean, released, it got nominated, so it was quality. That taught me that, okay, I like film and I'm good at it. Um, the Broadway musical, my kids were into musical theater when they were little, and whatever they're into, I'm gonna be into, so I got into it, and then I wrote a show and submitted it to the New York Musical Theater Festival, and it got accepted, so next thing you know, we're in New York playing my show off Broadway, and we had a blast. It was a super, super good time. I had a New York Times review where they basically made fun of me, but what the hell I didn't know what I was doing, like, "Hey, fine, dude, I'm here."
You
And I
did
think
it. You were brave enough.
I think what I took away, it's gonna go back to story, the very first thing that came out of your mouth. What I learned from those 2 experiences was I was able to elicit emotions via scenes, via film or stage. I would get the emotion. I wanted a laugh, I could get the laugh. I wanted a tear, I could get the tear via my writing. But what I didn't have was a beginning, middle, end arc that tied it all together. So after getting crushed in New York, I really went into studying the art of what the hell is a story and reading the McKee books and the Joseph Campbell Here with a Thousand Faces and Save the Cat and all these different books and podcasts on storytelling. What the hell is a story? It's almost overused, but it's not. And one of the best things I got out of all that study was how the anatomy of a joke, how efficient jokes are. There's no wasted words. If you say, a guy, I'm not going to tell you a joke, but a guy walks into a bar with a duck under his arm. Well, you're going to hear something about that duck in the payoff, and it has a beginning, middle, and end. That's how story jokes are.
Yep,
I took
yeah.
that away, and that ended up playing into it when I started doing heritage films. I started just talking to dad or mom or grandma and grandpa or whoever the hell it was. And then we would take that, we'd take out the bad, keep the good, and here's what happened. But I went back to what I learned about story and realized that I don't want to make these for posterity. I don't want you to give me a bunch of money to get a film of yourself and your wife so that your progeny will have it and it go into a safety deposit box for when you die. I want a movie. I want a beginning. I want a middle. I want an end. And I've added one other part because we can, which is, I won't go through the whole story arc, but at the end of the movie, you're in a new place. What we have the ability to do after we've built rapport is to ask beyond the end of this movie, 50 years from now, when we're all gone, what are the things that are important to you? It could be little things or it could be big, important things. What matters in all these trips around the sun that we do? What matters? So that's like it's like a postscript to the movie. It's an epilogue where the movie ends and and by the way, if we did one thing, it would be take those 4 minutes and it would be worth it because you get to hear the distilled, here's what matters. And I'll give you the short version of what matters to most of the people. It's all in ancient texts, it's all in Proverbs, it's that type of stuff. Turns out they knew what they were writing about.
Wow. I actually like this is powerful because I'm thinking like my dad was always the one behind the camera,
Mhm.
you know?
I hate those people.
He was
'Cause we're
always
going through we try to get their pictures, they're like, "Oh, no, I was taking pictures." It's usually a mom, but your dad, and the fact that you're a photographer, you took it
and
after
now
him.
it's me. I'm always the one behind the camera, right? But y
You're hiding behind it.
his legacy is in my head.
Yep.
It's
Mhm.
gone.
It's
His legacy is in my head, and so if I could have had the opportunity to tell his story because I know he's got stories,
oh, yeah.
but, like, being able to tell that story and to give it to my kids and my grandkids, because he's
Yeah.
deserving of being remembered, you know?
Absolutely.
I
And y
think
yep.
that's beautiful. I
Yeah, so
really
we've had so many people like that. We have what and by the way, everything I'm telling you, you guys can all do this yourself. Mine's gonna look like it's on HBO Docs or Netflix, but dude, you got a fucking iPhone, you can do this. It'll suck compared to mine, but you can do it.
it'll suck compared to my
But it won't. At the end of the day, it's the stories, the experiences, but what we do whenever somebody that we've lost your dad already, right? What we do is we think of all the circle of people around your dad, and the closest you can get to him is the people he's closest to. So we have a version of the film where we'll book out a few days where I'll talk to you, I'll talk to mom, I'll talk to whatever buddies we can get where it isn't as good. It's not isn't 5% of what it would be with dad, but sometimes for the families that contact me, they're like, "The 5% is worth it."
where I
And
was that's the words that was going in my head was, "It's worth it.
it's
It's worth."
worth it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about legacy
Mm.
preservation, the powerful concept. I guess my question is how do you like balance between the storytelling and the
Mm.
emotional weight? Like, how do you work through those moments? Because I know when I sit in front of somebody, like the gentleman that I'm working with, he was abused his whole life. And now he was neglected by the system. And he is now fighting for his own children and he's dealing with parental alienation. And so I have to listen to these stories of very hard moments of his life. Like, how do you turn that emotion into a story without making it like, too much.
Mm. No,
Am I
you're making perfect
PhD
sense.
brain is, like, all over the place right now. I'm trying to put
Well,
my word
and I'll try to tie it back in for your audience that are business starters, business owners, and an entrepreneurial bent to responding to that. Because at the end of the day, that's a real question that we deal with when there are very heavy moments. It can't be overweighted. And not only bad stuff. Lots of times people are super they have these crazy fun periods of their life. Did a guy that was very successful in life, but he was literally in Berkeley in 68 and he was a drug runner. He had a 10-year period of his life where he was not selling, but running drugs in boats and planes like a serious drug dude. And it was way more fascinating than his career. But how do you do it? How do you tell that story so that it's appropriate?
Yeah.
And we make it a part of the story, but we don't make it take over the story. To this person, he's a parent, he's a grandparent, and what is his legacy? Well, that's certainly a part of it. But if it was he talked about it for an hour and it's maybe 4 or 5 minutes in the film, which we weighed out and we thought that was about right. And it was funny and it was interesting and it did have a happy ending. He ended up turning state's evidence against people, so he didn't go to jail or anything. He ended up being a good guy. But, we told it like that. Whereas the filmmaker in me, if I was making a film for a broader audience, it would have been about a drug runner who
Mm,
happened to have a successful career here and happened to have a background that wouldn't make you think he was a drug
yes.
runner. But that's what we do. So as far as tying it in with entrepreneurs, you can be like a mercenary, like I'm going to go make money. Like, my
Mhm.
goal is to make money. Or you can have more of a ministerial or missionary approach of I feel so compelled to do something that I'm going to do this and I'm going to become great at it. And when you do it the earlier way, The mercenary way, you're just out to make a buck. You're not going to be as good, and
Mhm.
you're not going to have that satisfaction we talked about earlier in the call. But if you do it in a mission oriented, then you're more obsessed about getting it right than getting the money. The money will come. You need to know that that's true. That is true. You do it to be excellent, not to make money.
The money will come. Don't chase the money. Let it come to you by
Totally right.
providing
Do something
value.
else. Go work at Chili's. Work at Chili's while you're building your thing. Eventually, you're going to have to make a choice of where your time is being sent because now Chili's is going to be irresponsible, but you're still chasing and doing what you love.
Mhm.
And I love Chili's, so I don't know why the hell I picked them.
What a
Could be
great
anywhere.
advice. Why do you think people are so hesitant or to tell their own story or undervalue or underestimate the value of telling their own story? Like, why do you think people are shy about it? Maybe
Because I
not
got
so
an
much
answer. No, no,
cool.
you're exactly right. Think about this. There's 2 types of people. There's the guy that won't shut the hell up about himself, and then there's a
Mhm.
guy that won't talk about himself. The answer to that question is because in both cases, there's a level of selfishness. I gotta let them know, and by the way, this applies to any business, that in mine, the audience is still what matters, right? When Steven Spielberg made Jurassic Park, he knew his audience was families, males and females, 13 to 70, and he wanted to make a movie that tickled all those itches. And he killed it, by the way. The CGI totally holds up. When I'm making a film, my audience is this person's kids, grandkids, their progeny that haven't been born yet. They got to understand that. The person on the other side of the camera needs to know that this isn't a narcissistic voyage. This isn't for you to brag about all the cool shit you've done. And it's not for you to be too cool for school and give me one word answers. They need to understand that I I wish I had this of my grandfather that died in 1981 or 1961 or 1941 because that man lived in a time I can't even understand. It's only out of books and movies. That's when my grandpa grew up. They need to realize that the life that they lived in the 40s, 50s, 60s, whenever the hell they grew up, is just as foreign to their grandkids as his grandpa who grew up in a horse and buggy is to him. Once that clicks, once the subject realizes oh yeah, I wish I had that and now I have the opportunity to provide this for my people. They get it and then we talk. But you can do that with whatever business you have. You may not have an audience, you may have clients, you may have whatever the hell you call somebody that buys a thing. Think
Customer.
about them, a customer. You have customers. Think about who are my customers and how do I serve them? And let quality be your guide. Also, we spaz out on 2 levels of quality here. We're movie makers, we're nerds. We want to make badass movies, fantastic movies. But Walt Disney's my hero, and I want people to have a great experience from the time they call me to the time we're at their house and filming and getting to know each other and eating with them, and then to the time they get to watch it. I want the experience to be killer.
Do you get most of your clients through referrals or word of mouth? Because it
I do.
seems, yeah, that seems like when you build that relationship, it's all about authenticity and
Yeah.
relationship building, no matter what business you're in.
Yeah. Particularly, like, we have different tiers of films,
Yeah.
and our signature films are, like, for the Richie Rich folks, and we've done a lot of them. That's exclusively through that's not a network that you penetrate without spazzing out on your own quality and without being a slave to getting it right. Once one person in that ultra high net worth individual class discovers, "Oh, man, this guy's insane, but they're good." Then you get other calls, and then you're flying to Mumbai.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but I don't literally, there's no different. My approach is no different with the people with Ferraris versus the little old lady down the road, and maybe that's what makes us unique. It's literally, I want to be great. I walk into everyone going, "How can I serve this guy hired me to film his mom? I want him to love it. I want his kids to love it, and I want mom to have a freaking blast. God help me. Knock, knock, knock."
I love that you say I want
Yeah,
mom to have a freaking blast
I totally do.
because I can imagine like in that moment being on the opposite side of the camera and wondering like what do I say or just feeling that uncomfortableness but then after when you're walking out that door mom's like
Yeah.
Oh, that was so fun, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like that moment, that memory of, and the knowledge that people are going to remember you. People are going to know you. I
Yeah, yeah,
think
for
a
sure.
lot of people have a fear of, so Macklemore has in his song Glorious, he says, I've heard you die twice. First time when they bury you, and the second time is when the last time somebody mentions your name.
Oh, man.
I think,
Macklemore.
yes,
That's better than Thrift Shop. That's good.
glorious is what it's in that line.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, I think a lot of people are terrified of that. Of
Dude, I had a
terrified.
call. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm typing Glorious by Macklemore.
good.
My son loves Macklemore, or loved him. He may hate him now. He's 28. They go through phases. What you made me think of was this guy that called me and he said, my great granddad died last week and I want to know about you so I can do something with my grandpa. I said, okay, turn it all out. And he says, yeah, my great granddad died and his name was Granddaddy. I said, what was his name? He said, I didn't even know his name. His name was I learned his name at the funeral. And this is somebody I knew. And he goes, and I don't even know Grandpa's name. His name's Grandpa.
Oh,
He said it hit me that we're three generations away from being totally forgotten, and I don't want that to happen with my grandpa. Um, Pretty
oh,
cool.
wow.
Yeah, and then there was another one about, oh gosh, that you were saying, and I was like, God, that is exactly what I just heard about. There's two versions of you. There are only two versions of yourself. This comes from Naval Ravikant, who's an
Okay.
amazing. He's like a billionaire dude, but he's basically a philosopher now. He says there's two versions of you. There's the version of you, and then there's the version of you that realizes there's only one version of you. It makes you think. Like once you realize this is my only go, this is the only trip I get. And once you have that knowledge in your head, in your heart, it changes how you are. And it changes how it allows you to have thoughts like, all I want to do is be fucking excellent at this thing because it serves other people.
Wow. This has been a cool conversation. I know we haven't really gotten into like the business stuff, but I don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
I think for me, I want to tell people's stories, but in my own unique way. So I think this has been so much fun. Talk to me about creatives. In my experience, are very kind of in their own world, right?
Mhm.
Creatives, like the real creatives, they have a hard time like overseeing the teams and the managerial side of
Mhm.
things. Their brains just don't work like that. So like what is your like philosophy or
Mhm.
your approach to leadership within your business being a creative?
Yeah, great question, and like with everything else, I'm gonna turn it over to somebody that knows more than I do. There's a book, the one that helped me, and it may help some of your audience, is, Rocket Fuel. Can't remember the author, I'm crappy with names like that. Um, and the premise of Rocket Fuel is certain types of businesses need to be run by tandems, and in that tandem, you'll have your visionary, Walt Disney, and you'll have your integrator, Roy Disney. You'll have your visionary, Steve Jobs, your integrator, Steve Wozniak. You'll have okay, where and each of them has what they're good at, what they're naturally gifted at doing, not what they want to do, what they're naturally gifted at doing, and they need to complement one another. And we didn't hit escape velocity until I let go of the integrator reins and gave it to my wife. So my wife and I run the business, but she's never here. She does the behind the scenes. She's who I go home to and talk to and complain and help me get things done. I'm still operationally, I still do all the stuff, the CEO style crap, but it's all filtered through her. She helps me make the decisions because she's a natural integrator. She knows, she believes, she naturally wants systems. She naturally wants people to be accountable, you know, trust but verify type things. And I think that may help some people that struggle with that, that if they are the natural, and it doesn't just mean artsy fartsy, right brain people, creative filmmakers, artists, that type of stuff. There's also versions of that in normal normal work in the computer world. Your coders are very often a combination of both, but they kind of lean more towards the right side. The people that come up with novel concepts are going to have a healthy dose of visionary in them. And problem solving in general requires, okay, if there's a problem, it means what we're doing is not working.
Mhm,
What we're
mhm.
doing comes from the integrator side of the tandem. Therefore, most problems require some type of visionary input. Now, the bad thing about being a visionary is 90% of what we come up with is dog shit. But 10%, but that 10% is where the answer is. And a good integrator knows that's ridiculous. That's stupid. What do you know? Wow, that's actually not a terrible yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that one.
That was freaking brilliant. Oh,
It's true.
oh, but I mean, you have to go through that 90% in order to hone in that 10, right? Like
Well,
it's a
and what the book will teach you is how to do that as a visionary husband and not want to strangle your lovely wife. And you realize, nope, she has her gifts, I have mine. We defer to her on these things because her brain is looking at solutions. My brain is chasing squirrels.
Mhm. Right, so it's finding the right partner in crime,
Absolutely. And it's rare
making
that
sure.
it's usually a married couples it doesn't work out because it is high contrast, high conflict,
Mhm.
and that which is dangerous in a marriage. But we've been married 32 years. She ain't going nowhere.
No, Jason and I, we've been working together for 17 years, 24 hours a day, 7
There you
days a week,
go.
365
Then
days a year.
you know.
He's the creative, right? Like he can come up with the ideas. He's the procrastinator. He's the one that can finish a job at the very end. Like you've got an
Oh yeah.
hour to do a 7-hour project and it comes out to be like iconic. And me, I'm the strategist. I'm the other half of that brain and the integrator. And it's not easy to do when it's your spouse. It is a challenge, but when it works, man,
It's way better. It's
yeah.
better. Like Roy was 8 years older than Walt. When they had wins, Roy would celebrate with his wife, Walt with there wasn't that life together of a victory. It's it's important. What I'm going to encourage you to do is get on Grok or ChatGPT or Meta or shit, Anthropic, one of them. They all do the same crap. And have it give you a summary of rocket fuel. Gilroy. Gilroy maybe is the last name. It's two authors. Ah, hell, I don't know.
I'm gonna look
And
it up.
then and then buy the book and read it and then make your husband do it. It's going to take him longer because it's going to help. It'll help your marriage. It helped us hugely.
Interesting. All right. Rocket fuel book. We're looking it up. Um, oh, and look at that. There's even a free audiobook.
Oh wow.
Rocket
Do
fuel.
that.
Gino Wickman. Listen
Mhm.
to, oh no. Yeah,
Gino
Gino,
Wickman. That's it.
Mark C.
That's it.
Winters.
Yeah.
Cool. I've got that up now. I'm gonna check that one out. Habits and rituals in the film industry. Are there any habits or rituals that you find brings you or creates better quality work?
I have a book to recommend. I have a book for everything. Yeah. So
Have
many.
a book for
So
everything.
my
Well, no,
whole
it's interesting because I know two other cinematographers that would probably answer the same thing. Have a book for everything.
well, it's true. It's somewhere along the way, I got out of my own way. I used to read books like a cynic would read a book, think I know better. This guy's a dipshit. Whatever. You don't know what I'm going through. And then I hit a point. My wife and I read a lot. And I hit a point where I'm like, you know what? This guy wrote this book. It sold millions of copies. There's probably good stuff in it. I'm going to read it and I'm going to do exactly what it says, even if it seems crazy. And I really only recommend books where that I've crossed that threshold into non-cynic true acceptance. And the James Clear book Atomic Habits is we just apply it to the film world. And the part that I love the most about it was what he calls habit stacking. And that's where let's say you suck at oh shit, I forgot to take the garbage out. I forgot to take the garbage out. Honey, you're supposed to take the garbage out. I know, I forgot. Well, a habit stack is where you stack it onto something that you never forget because you never forget to make coffee because if you don't have your coffee, you're going to be a bitch. So or a turd, whatever. So you literally take a sticky note and you put it on the coffee maker that says take out the trash. So when you go to make the coffee, you're like, "Oh, yeah, take out the trash." So then you're all tired, you take the trash out and you put it in the wrong thing and you come back in and you get your coffee and you get about your day. After doing that for a while, you realize that you don't need that sticky note there anymore. You trash it, and now you're naturally taking out the garbage. Well, you can build stacks of a bunch of those. And we do that except in film production to systemize something that's highly artistic. You have to have standards and you have to have ritual, discipline. And the discipline starts with a sticky note that says, put your ND filter on, we're shooting outside. And then after doing it 10 shoots in a row, you realize I'm outside. I don't need this sticky note.
Oh my God. Okay, guys, you need to scroll back. One of the things he said that I think is the most powerful is I got out of my own way. I
Oh,
got
man.
out of my own way. Guys, you have to learn and grow and understand that if you're not learning, you're dying. So get out of your way, listen to others. You can think it's crap, fine, but there's always something you can take from it, whether it's something you agree with or don't agree with. Like, get out of your own way, open your mind, and stack your habits.
Yes.
Apparently, I'm totally going to look at that one. That's interesting. I've got that book up too. Okay. So I got two more questions and then
Okay.
we'll get out of here. I would like to know, kind of talked about imposter syndrome a little bit. And I talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
this a lot in my podcast. I talk about mental health a lot in my podcast because it's something that I've struggled with my whole life. And entrepreneurs are actually like 80% more likely to struggle with imposter syndrome and mental health because of being you know, owning a business and being responsible for everybody else. So, how do you get past moments of imposter syndrome?
Man, I thinking back, there's times when I still feel it, of course. But when I go back to the early days of the company, it's all I felt. I walked away from a film that, interview that went great, and we get in the truck and we're like, holy crap, they bought it. They believed us. And then we get through the edit and then we're getting to the point where we're going to send the review to the client. And we're like, oh, this is terrible. This is The Room. This is Tommy Wiseau. This is crap. And we send it to them. And then we're like, God, I hope they never hear from. And then they send us a few revisions. Okay. And then a few weeks later, we get an email that's like, oh, we all watched it together. It went amazing. Thank you. Then you get through a few more, and then a few more months, and then a few more years, and you start to realize that those responses from clients are getting better and better. I'll give you an example. We had a guy who hired us to film Dad. We went and did Dad's film, and his dad had two sons. Mom had died. Dad had two sons. The youngest son hired us. The youngest son and older son hadn't talked in like 25 years. They just hated each other. They got in a big fight, hate each other. Dad, make the movie for Dad. I know that the sons have a fractured relationship, but Dad has a relationship with both of them. I said, how do you navigate that? Bill and Tom don't talk, and yet your dad. He's like, oh, hell, those boys, they're boys being boys. They're still boys being boys. I'm like, dude, they're 50. Anyway, we get through the whole film, and Dad had some issues in his younger years with his father, so the boy's grandfather, and he talked through all that stuff. Make the movie. Ship the movie to whichever Bill, and Bill sends it to Dad, and Dad sends it to Tom. It's a long setup, and your audience is like, I don't know who the fuck any of these people are.
Don't
Well,
care.
they don't care.
I like your story.
Tom Tom reaches out to Bill. They go to lunch. They get together. They get the families together, the cousins that have never met. They It bonded the family. Like that's a real thing that happened. So by the way, this is in 2017. Bill calls me and tells me this whole story and says that, dude, I had no idea. I had no idea that this would happen, but I got my brother back. And it turns
Ugh.
out what they were mad about was the younger brother took the older brother's Mustang out to go impress a girl. And the older brother got pissed and that turned high school. I'm talking like a junior and senior in high school. He basically stole his car for a night. That turned into this, turned into a fight, turned into hatred. They stopped talking, different rooms, graduated, different college, started a family. Fuck that guy. The whole life of it, a whole life of it, 25 years gone. And because Bill, his dad's his hero, we go film Dad, and Dad shares it with the other son because Dad was proud of, he wasn't thinking it was going to bond the boys back, but it did.
He really was
So,
his hero,
yeah,
even
totally. That
even at that point, because Dad.
that's how do I escape imposter syndrome? Stories like that. I'm not faking it. I'm going to break through whatever walls are up, and we're going to have a real talk because we're going to serve something for your future generations, and we'll get there. And we do. So now I have imposter syndrome. But when I'm trying new stuff, I do so much more research now. I used to think thriving in chaos was good. And so I would
Mhm,
basically subconsciously create chaos because I'm good at thriving in chaos.
mhm.
Well, chaos is going to make its way to you. You don't got to make it yourself. So now I'm more about the systems and processes. The chaos is going to find its way. And the whole, oh, we'll figure it out. We used to say that about everything. Let's just do it. We'll figure it out. We say that less and less now. We figure it out, then we do it.
Love it. Well, you have a lot more resources now to be able to figure it out. You know what I mean? To do
Sure.
some extra research. Wow. This has been like, I could, honest to God, talk to you for hours and hours.
Likewise,
If you could film anything, what would it be? If
if
you
I
could
could film,
create anything.
gosh,
I
this
know, I'm
sounds
such a
so
pain in the
cheesy.
ass.
I would, if I could film anything, I'm only taking time because I'm trying to respect you and be absolutely authentic.
Take your time, man. I can edit.
I'm not gonna break the rules of go back in time. I realize that's not what you mean.
I'm go back in time. Anything.
I would, mm, I would probably want no, see, that's a cheat because we would all love to see with the past and see our own families in the past. I would film Lee, I don't even know. I love what I do so much. All that my brain will do is maybe I would go film families that like some of the people that call us and can't afford us, but they have insane stories. Go do it on my terms. Like, here's a story that would need to be told. I would love to do heritage films, but for small towns where we tell the story of different small towns with interesting histories and interview all the old timers and get with the economic development councils and partner with the movers and shakers in the town, but really tell the story of the town. I would love to do that.
Come to
I
Evanston, Wyoming. We got
yeah,
17,000 people.
that's perfect. Yeah. I mean, I wrote up a thing to do heritage towns and we've went down the road, but it's something that when you start having to have people pull resources, it starts to get more complicated to get too many chefs in the kitchen. So until I could do it on my terms, I'm like, we'll wait. I would like to do that. And so I'm gonna say that's what I would do. It's probably tonight. I'm gonna kick myself and be like, what are you talking about? You've got 7 scripts you've written. Why not? Why not film
Well,
that?
what this goes back to though, Chance, is that what you originally said was follow what you're naturally good at. Your answer is what you are naturally good at, what
Probably
you're
so.
passionate about. Well, so that actually shows me that truly this is a passion for you, that
There's no question about it.
you love what you do.
I do.
Wow.
I'm the
So
boomer whisperer.
the boomer.
It's true.
To laugh like that. Okay, so if people
Forgot about
want
us.
to have their legacy filmed, like you obviously you travel the world, like that's
Yeah.
why is that what you said?
Yeah, we're going in October. It's very cool. But at the root of it, it's a guy that loves his dad. And dad, we already filmed his dad in San Fran, and we're going to Mumbai to film a bunch of the family members. It's no different. It's no different at all. It just happens to be somebody with resources, but at the root of it is a young man that loves his father. And I never lose sight of that, no matter what kind of plane I'm flying on.
Ooh. Um, Now I can tell. I mean, you do have this authenticity, this humbleness about you. This whole conversation, it's these aren't my ideas. You know, this isn't my information. I'm sharing something
It's
from somebody
true.
else. You do have this like humbleness. I think that is probably also what helps you break those barriers because you are you and you are you out loud and that's a
I think
good
that's
thing.
fair. Yeah, I
You
think
are
that's
you out
fair.
loud.
I am authentic. There's no lies. Competitors will call me and I'll say, "Yeah, I'll share with you. I don't give a shit. I know what I'm doing and it's a great there's lots of room out there. There's
There's enough for everyone.
there's enough for everyone and besides, I think I can franchise this, so I need those relationships."
Hell yeah.
I
Hell yes.
think
All right,
uh,
peeps. I got some people
yeah.
who are going to want to know about this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
how
it's
do they
a
get a hold of you then, Chance?
yeah, go to yourheritagefilm.com. YOUR for the people in Louisiana and Alabama. Yourheritagefilm.com. Fill out a little thing and it's
I
It's
don't think you're
special.
going to Louisiana anytime soon.
I go to Louisiana all the time. My God, that's what I need an office. I need an office in New Orleans. We did a film a couple of weeks ago, and when they said the name of the town, it was La Rose, Louisiana. And I
Mhm.
said, I'm on the phone. I'm like, where's La Rose? And where is that? They're like, oh, it's about an hour from New Orleans. It's about an hour south. And I'm like, New Orleans is on the coast. What are you talking about an hour south? They're like, oh no, there's like a hook and there's like swamps. And so I'm like, and I get, oh, sure enough, we're driving over these gullies and to all it's hour south. We're in La Rose, and boy, those accents were special. And yeah,
Oh,
yourheritagefilm.com.
yourheritagefilm.com. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely loved this conversation, and I know that you brought value. I think the main takeaway from this is that A, you need your visionary and your integrator. B, be authentic no matter what business you're in. Tell your story with pride, with authenticity, with truth, because that's what actually relates and people can connect with no matter what your brand is. And get out of your own way.
Yes,
I think those
there's
are some major takeaways.
you said the word truth, and that is something that my wife and I believe so deeply in, that you want to be authentic, you want to be true, and you know when you're not. God put it in us. We know, and you know when you're bending it. You know when you're hiding something you should be saying. You know, don't hurt people, but be truthful.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And wow. Well, thank you so much. Chance, is there
Thank you, Erica.
anything else that you want to add before we take off?
Do it yourself. If you don't want me, you don't trust me because I have a potty mouth. I don't with your parents, by the way. Do it yourself. Get
Right,
your
there you
iPhone out.
have the mouth of an Irish trucker.
Learn learn to talk to your boomers and above. Go talk to the people with whiter hair than mine. Just go talk to them. They're smarter than you are. They've got a more interesting life than you do. Just go visit with them. And even if you're not filming it, spend time, be curious, and and listen to Erica on her podcast.
Yes. That's gonna be my next advertisement. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you for joining us. I hope you took something away. Again, I end with gratitude and have a beautiful day. Well, that is a wrap on today's episode of Iconic Entrepreneurs. Thank you for spending time with us. If this episode sparked a shift, don't let it fade. Replay it, write it down, and take action. Whether it was a mindset shift, or maybe a branding revelation, or maybe just a simple insight or a tool that you can use in your everyday life. The question is, what will you build with it? If you're ready to grow smarter, not just harder, subscribe now, leave a review, and head over to weareiconic.com. That is weareiconiq.com to explore how we help entrepreneurs like you scale with clarity and strategy that actually works. This is more than a podcast. It's a blueprint for becoming iconic in your own lane. This is Iconic, built beyond the expected.